And if you can have an attitude of gratitude and bringing that benevolence, then everything postures around you to deliver it. And right now, I think it's time to deliver a meditation and a channel. Mm-hmm. So I invite you to close your eyes and to just suspend time in this moment so that you are now giving yourself some self-care. And that self-care right now in this moment is enhancing that connection you have with the soul energy part of you. We're about to receive a message from Kryon. And Kryon is a group, an entourage that is entangled with our soul. So many of you say, I feel Kryon is speaking to me personally, directly. How can that be when there are many of you? And this is where Kryon says, the many are the one. And so in this oneness of the many, let us now receive the message from Kryon.
Winter is coming. Really. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Cryon of Magnetic Service. What does that mean? And what does the change in the climate mean to you? And which direction is it going? All right. This year was officially measured as one of the most warm years on the planet for those who measure, and that would not say anything about winter coming, now would it? So for many years, when we talk about the change of Gaia, for many years, I have given you a message that to most is laughable. For those who would watch this right now, what is Cryon going to say that would ever justify the idea that it's going to get colder? Dear ones, we talk about change. This is the fourth in a series of 4 about the changes going on the planet. This one specifically is about your weather. It's about Gaia. It's about the beauty of the way life is sustained and created. Now, what has that got to do with the weather? Let me tell you. The planet sustains life, your life, the foods in your ocean, all of the things that you need to survive, and it does it with one attribute, and it's called cycles. And the cycles are often the cycles of cold and warm. Humanity has not been here very long, not really. When you take a look at the age of the planet, the gyrations the planet has been through in order to be in its calm state now, humanity just arrived. If you had a clock of 12 hours, and it all represented the lifetime, I would say, of the planet, well, humanity got here about 3 seconds ago. And so you really have not had time to experience many cycles. This planet's cycles are cycles within cycles. There's large ones, there are intermediate ones, and there are short ones. And those who start to study the cycles do it the best way they can by going into that which perhaps is the tree rings, the ice cores, anything that will show them the geology that happened on the planet and when it happened. And these are literally the tools one would need to see what has happened in the past with the weather of Gaia. Dear ones, I'm here to say yet again, there is a weather pattern that this planet has seen before. And it's not necessarily a pattern that you have been measuring since you've only been measuring for a few years. Humanity may have been here for thousands of years, but those who keep records, that hasn't been very long. So you sit here thinking you're an authority on weather because you can predict it and see it from space. But there has not been a great deal of emphasis on the cycles. If you start talking to those who know about the cycles, they'll give you a story. Winter is coming. The cycles on this planet, even without humanity present, have gone from warm to cold, warm to cold, warm to cold. And it is an attribute of sustaining life so it can regenerate. I've said this before. If you are a keeper of fish, if you are one who enjoys the fish tanks of salt water and fresh water and beautiful fish and the things that make it so beautiful, and you have it in your home, you know there is an attribute of the keeping of fish. At some point, you have to change the water. You can't change the water on the earth, but it needs something in order to reboot it, you might say, in your language, to refresh it, you might say, even to have it start again, you might say. Humans don't like that. They don't like to see things disappear or be destroyed, but they always see it recover. And this is the cycle of Gaia that you have not understood at all. Without humans here, the cycles appear, and they have attributes that are data-driven. You can see them. You can study them. One of the attributes is a hot and cold cycle. But the interesting thing about that is in order to have the cold cycle work correctly, there is immediately before it a warming cycle. You're in that warming cycle. Now, those around you who don't want to tell you necessarily about the cycles of the planet will tell you that the planet is going to overheat and you're in trouble, and that is the entire story. They also will tell you that you've caused it. Dear ones, you have caused pollution. That has made this happen, this warming cycle, worse. But I'll tell you something that is extremely controversial, and that is this. You didn't cause the warming cycle in total. It would have happened without you here. Stop polluting this planet. I say that the planet will recover. You may not. Stop polluting this planet. In love with Gaia, you all are. But there's far more for you to know than this. This Gaia, this planet, this beautiful system will recover even if you're not here. So let's stay here, you might say. Think about what you're pumping into the atmosphere to make this worse than it would have been. Controversial? Yes. Some of you will see it, some of you will not, depending upon how long you live, but I am telling you that this will eventually turn into a cold spell. A time of cold on the planet like not before. Not an ice age, a mini ice age, you might say, where it gets colder and colder. Now, why am I, Cryon, wanting to tell you about your weather? How does that fit in with anything that Cryon teaches? And I'll tell you now. It's a common theme. And here is the theme. You are going to need to produce heat in order to survive in your cities, in your homes, in your villages, in a way you have never had to create it before. And in order to do that, you're going to have brand new ways of creating energy for the heat. Ways that will not pollute the earth. Some have called it free energy. It's not free. There's always a push and pull in any physics. But there are some energies that are always there, no matter what you do, for you to use. Gravity, for instance, is one of them. There are rules of gravity. What comes up must come down. Therefore, it is what you would call a neutral energy in that you can't necessarily use it in the way you would like to because it's not that free. Magnetics is another one that seems to be a neutral energy. The pluses and the minuses all equal to zero eventually. And yet, I will tell you, dear ones, that will be the answer. There is a way to use the magnetics in very clever ways in order to get around some of the physics problems that are being seen. And then you will have that which is energy produced with magnetic engines, with motors. Some of them use a piece and a part, perhaps, of battery power, perhaps only to get them started or to push them a little more. And then the magnetics that are creating the energy then will charge up those batteries to do it again and again. There are so many ways that this is going to take place. I have asked my partner to show them to you as they appear on the planet, to show you when someone comes up with wonderful new ways of creating electricity, even in the standard form, but with great savings. This is why you need to know this, because winter will eventually come. Again, there are rolling of eyes. Well, I don't see it yet, Cryon. No, you don't. And that is the point, dear human being. If you had kept records for a few thousand years and you had the data, you'd know it. You'd see it. Oh, here comes another cycle. I invite some of you to start studying the indigenous in cold climates. In this country, the country that my partner lives in, talk to the indigenous of Alaska, for instance, and see what they say in their writings, perhaps, their songs, their wisdom, in the things they've left behind for you to see. They talk about the coming and the going of their glaciers. They recede, they come back. They recede, they come back. The indigenous have seen the cycles. They have written about it. They have songs about it. They have shown it to you. And here you sit wringing your hands that a glacier is receding. I think they would have a good time with that, dear ones. It's time to see that Gaia is larger than you think, and that the cycles it goes through are for you. So you will have subsistence. More than that, you'll have a sustainable food source as long as there's humanity here. Done with the cycles of Gaia. There's more on this for you to see. More science will start to be revealed. But this is the way of it. Prepare for cold. Laugh all you want. There'll come a time when you will say, oh, I think Cryon was right. And so it is.
And after that beautiful message from Cryon, I invite you to open your eyes if you've had your eyes closed. And we're going to move to another part of the program where I am so excited to be meeting tonight's guest. She shares a connection with my sister because my sister was a paramedic for many years, and tonight's guest has developed amazing psychic abilities as a paramedic. Her name is Sarah K. Grace, and I want to make sure Sarah is on the Zoom feed with us. Zoom, are you there? I'm still coming back from my channel. Sarah, are you there?
Hello, I am here.
Oh, wonderful to see you, Sarah. And apologies for calling you Zoom.
Okay. You're forgiven.
You know, these shows are whatever happens, happens. You know, psychic paramedic turned holistic first responder, Sarah K. Grace used her psychic abilities while working as a paramedic in the busy California 911 system for 15 years. I ought to just stop right there. That is amazing. And she's got an amazing story, helping countless people through extreme crisis and death. She became an energetic support during people's worst moments.
So Sarah is now a best-selling author, sought-after speaker, and renowned intuitive healer. Specializing in psychic surgery and holistic treatment programs, she can help you pull your life out of the ditch, no matter how severe your current situation. Wow. Sarah, you are in the right place at the right time. Welcome to Healing Wednesday, and tell me all about your journey as a paramedic and then opening your psychic abilities.
Well, thank you guys again for having me. It's really beautiful to be here. And yeah, quite the journey indeed for me. And I just want to honor and acknowledge the power and clarity of both of you in the channel, because I can feel so much energy moving through my system as a result of our connection here. So I'm going to continue to ground myself, and thank you for that. I grew up in South Dakota in the middle of nowhere, pre-internet, on Standing Rock Indian Reservation. And there was no connection to the outside world. One day I just woke up at the age of 7 and I was able to start to see auric fields, is how it started for me. And over the course of a few weeks, the energetics and stimulus became more and more intense for me. So it went from just seeing colors and tracers to feeling sensations, people's intentions. Then I could feel disease or see disease in people's bodies, and it went on to be able to see spirit. And I didn't have any guidance. Unfortunately, it was a very volatile home life situation, and we came from a really conservative background. So when I did make mention, finally, after many weeks of kind of dealing with this on my own as a little kid, unfortunately, I was shamed and condemned and they told me not to talk about it because, it was evil. And so that really was a big foundational time for me, because I developed a fear and I thought, wow, there's something wrong with me, right? And I didn't understand. And that really marked it was a push-pull, love-hate relationship with my abilities from that moment until I really became healed and started utilizing them for good. But eventually, I went through a lot of shadow integration trauma recovery as a result of all of that. And I didn't want anything to do with my abilities at all. But once I eventually became a paramedic, when I had moved to California, the energy just started working through me on these calls. And it was nothing I was trying to do, because I was still really closeted and I didn't want it to be there, especially in such like an alpha type A machismo type environment with like the firefighters and the SWAT guys and stuff. I didn't want to be the weird person who sees dead people, on the calls or whatever. And so I was still very closeted, still very insecure, had a lot of toxic shame around the way that I was and the way that I was, because I didn't understand. But over time, what happened is the energy started coming through me on these calls, and the precognition, and I would know what was going to happen before it did. And I would always know when death was near. And I became the paramedic who was really always there in the moments of death and like the very extreme crises type of calls. And the energy, the awareness,